le tona la ditshebeletso le tsamaiso ya setjhaba Collins Chabane o tla phomotsa borokong ba haeba o qetela semmuso mafelong a o reang re a lebile a beke ho ya ka ditlaleho tsa lesedinyana la News 24. Sebueledi sa Palamente Mark Maharaj o tlaleile ha le tona Chabane a tla robatswa semmuso mafelong a beke. Mopresidente Jacob Zuma o laetse hore diflaga tsa naha di fufiswe naha ka bophara ka Moqebelo e leng letsatsi la lepato la le tona Chabane. Chabane mmoho le Lesiba Sekele ka sitana le Lawrence Lentswane ba sile lefatshe le ka kwano ka Sontaha kotsing ya koloi nakong eo ntorontoro e neng e thinya ka pela koloi eo ba neng ba e palame. Kotsi ena e etsaetse mmileng wa N1 dipakeng tsa Mokopane le Polokwane provinseng ya Limpopo. Ke Legunya Lesitsi lefapha ke la ditaba CUT FM.
18:12 is the time. You're still listening to CUT Parliament on CUT FM 105.8. It's time to wrap up today's sports with Lamla Done. Hello, Lamla.
Hello, Dumi.
Good?
I'm good, and you?
Let's give today's wrap up of sports a good shot.
All right. Starting off with your varsity sports, the book secured a convincing 53-16 victory over FNB Varsity Cup newcomers CUT Ixias in Bloemfontein on Monday. The Potchefstroom outfit outscored their host by 7 tries to 2 to give their playoff hopes a major boost and consign CUT to another big defeat in what has been a disappointing debut season. The visitors drew first blood when scrum half Dillon Smith got over for their opening try, but the home side hit back soon afterwards through hooker Len Noor to level the scores at 8-8. And of course, the visitors brought up their half a century at the death to put a stamp on a dominant performance which saw them move up to 3rd place on the standings. Recapping the top story this hour, the book secured a convincing 53-16 victory over FNB Varsity Cup newcomers CUT Ixias in Bloemfontein on Monday. And of course, it is a wrap for now till we meet again tomorrow, same time, same place for CUT FM. I am Atoni Lam.
Thank you so much, Lamla. It's gone 18:17. You're still listening to CUT Parliament on CUT FM 105.8. Remember, like I said, Zakes Mda will be joining us in studio in just a while. Remember, you can be a part of the conversation we'll be having with him. Call us in studio 051-507-3747. On Facebook, we CUT FM 105.8. On Twitter, we at CUT FM 105.8. When we return, we talk.
A university assembly is a special occasion in any university.
So next time we can get
Get 4 person steak, 15 you get.
Stop treating people as a group. We're speaking as individual members. We want the president to answer a simple question. When is he paying the money as directed by the public?
You're listening to CUT Parliament on CUT FM 105.8.
18:21 is the time. You're still listening to CUT Parliament on CUT FM 105.8. Like I said, we have a very important guest with us in studio right now. You can be a part of the conversation we'll be having with him. 051-507-3747 is the number to call us on. On Facebook, we CUT FM 105.8, and on Twitter, we at CUT FM 105.8. He's also on Twitter at Zakes Mda. Zakes Mda, good evening, Professor Zakes Mda.
It's my pleasure.
Yes, good evening, and thank you so much for your time.
I'm very happy to be here.
Who is Zakes Mda? Because now we just want to give our listeners a round of who you are, because before we introduce who we think you are.
Well, I mean, first of all, I would say that I'm the kind of person who is defined by others. Mm-hmm. That is why, for me, that becomes a very difficult question. Precisely because I have many identities. I mean, like we all have. Mm. So who I am depends on what situation are we talking about. I'm a father and a teacher. I'm a writer on the other side. I'm a composer of music. I'm a painter. So it just depends, in what area of life we are talking about.
We're talking about.
That's the problem with all these many different identities.
Joining me with this interview is my producer, Mr. Trey Argofela.
Yes, and I'm very honored to have Mr. Zakes Mda on the show. Fortunately enough, I come from this little country that's a stone throw away called Lesotho. So I've heard you also had some time in Lesotho where you were still teaching and doing very many projects in Lesotho as well.
Lesotho actually is another one of my homes.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually belong in a number of countries. one of which is South Africa, and the other one is Lesotho.
All right.
Yeah. I grew up there. I went to school there. I went to high school. I went to primary school there. I went to high school there. I became a man there. You see. In other words, my whole formative years, I was shaped by Lesotho. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
That is why even my first language is Lesotho, even though originally my people were Xhosas, you see, like my name is Zanimvula and so on, but my first language and my brothers and so on, we speak Lesotho because that's where we grew up.
You know, you just touched on the many, well, how do I put this, the many faces of Zakes Mda, the playwright, the author,
Yes.
you know, the teacher. Which one of those was your first passion? How did you get into being a man that's so mercurial?
No, there's no first passion.
Okay.
Because you see, I don't compartmentalize my life, and you know, I'm all those things at all times. I don't. It's people who will define those things according to their own interests. People who read novels think that I'm a novelist, and they see me as a novelist. But there are other people who don't know much about that side, who know me as a painter, you know, who know me at art exhibitions and so on and so forth. They are art enthusiasts, you see, and they know Zakes Mda, the painter. And the other people who know me in other aspects, as an academic, for instance, as a critical scholar, and so on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Mda, like we've touched on how you are all of these people.
Yes.
I just wanted to get into the work now, some of the work that you've done, and the many books that you've written. What is your creative process in your writings and in your plays and so on and so forth? Where does it all come from?
Well, it comes from you. You know, it comes from life, from interacting with people, from imagination, from memory. Because, well, you see, when we talk of imagination and memory, sometimes it's very difficult to divide those, you know, because they inform each other, you see. So, I grew up in an environment, in fact, you know, which, you know, was permeated with different arts. I was fortunate that my father, at first, was a teacher. Then once I was still young, he became a lawyer, but he was also a politician. You see, he's one of the founders of the ANC Youth League. And so I grew up in an environment where, you know, which was very political, but which was artistic as well, because even he was also a painter, although he did not do it professionally. For him, it was a hobby, whereas for me, it's a profession. He was a painter, but he was also a musical conductor. So I grew up interacting with composers who would come to visit him and talk. So you see, all those influences in life, you know, it was just the fortune of being born in that kind of environment, and then an interest then in those areas was cultivated, and then I grew up being a holistic artist who did not, to me, art is art. You know? I wake up one day, I feel like painting a picture, I paint a picture. I wake up one day, I feel like writing a poem, I write a poem, or I write a novel, or, you know, it just depends on how I feel that day and what story I want to tell.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not what story I want to tell, what story demands to be told. Yeah, because the story tells you that you should tell it, and it also tells you how to tell it. Even if you wanted to write a poem, but if the story says, no, I can't be a poem, I'm a play, then it's got to be a play. Or I'm a painting, it's got to be a painting. The story tells you how to tell it.
All right. So,
Interesting. I just want us to move back to your father being one of the founding members of the ANC. I stand to be corrected, you're also a former
ANC Youth League.
Youth League, yes.
Because the ANC was founded long before
yes.
he was born.
He was born.
Yes.
Are you formally a member of the PAC? Are you still a member of the PAC?
No. I was a member of the PAC for many years, but also of POCO, you know, their military wing. But then I moved from that once I was still in exile, and returned to the fold of the ANC again, which is where we came from originally.
Originally, yes.
Yeah, you see. Yes. Then, yeah, so although, I mean, I'm still a Pan-Africanist, philosophically.
Yes.
Pan-Africanism, not necessarily the party, but the philosophy of a united Africa and we as Africans working together for a common destiny and so on. But philosophically, politically, I'm more inclined to the policies. I stress policies of the ANC. I stress policies because there are many practices that I'm critical of. You see, but I think the ANC has the correct policies for this country if they were implemented properly.
Properly.
Yes.
18:29 is the time. You're still listening to CUT Parliament on CUT FM 105.8. We are having a very interesting talk with Professor Zakes Mda. You can be a part of this conversation. 051 507 3747 is our student number. Or if you can't, call us on Facebook, we CUT FM 105.8. On Twitter, we at CUT FM 1058. We'll be right back. (18:31) is the time. You're still listening to CUT Parliament on CUT FM 105.8. In studio live with us, Zakes Mda. Join us. Remember, you can ask him anything you want to on Facebook with CUT FM 105.8. On Twitter, we at CUT FM 105.8. Trey, I believe there's a question you have.
Yes, Mr. Mda, taking into consideration, you know, the current landscape of the country, you know, in terms of like writers and playwrights that are young and wanting really to get involved into the creative arts, how would you say the industry or the vibrancy of that is? Are there enough young African playwrights, you know, writing novels and creating plays out there today? Because we don't really have a lot of exposure to that out here as young people.
Really? Yeah. Well, you know, I usually get that kind of question, even in South Africa, like now. But what surprises me is that let me start from this point. During apartheid, there was a lot of production that was happening. You know, theater was quite vibrant, and there was some writing of novels and short stories, but mostly short stories, not much novels. There wasn't much of that. Most of the arts that were vibrant were the kind of arts that these that are immediate. By immediate, I mean, you know, you rehearse a play and you go and perform it to the people out there.
Yes.
Or a poem, you go and recite it out there, you know, and so on. Amongst the people, you know, to arouse them and so on. There was no time, because of the oppression of the day, to sit down and focus on a single piece of work, a novel, which takes many months or even years to write. And once the concentration and you know, we didn't have time for that, because we had these immediate problems that we had to address with our art. And therefore you find that the arts that were thriving mostly are the arts that I'm now calling immediate. Immediate in that you do it now and it's out there with the people directly, you see. So that's why then, you know, our theater became very famous during those days, even overseas and so on, because that's what we were focusing on. Very few people were writing. Well, Sipos Pamela, for example, Miriam Tladi, for instance, they were the only people who were writing novels. But now today, the situation has changed. in the last 20 years, since we got our freedom, you see, the demise of apartheid liberated the mind of the African artists and the African writers. Now you find that we have many writers. We still have many powerful poets as well. Very, very powerful poets. So some of them, even from Bloemfontein here, well, that woman from Kwakwa, for instance, Nabo Mashiane, and so on. We have many powerful poets, but in addition to that, now we have novelists who were not there during that period for the reasons that I've explained to you.
Yes, sir.
You see, we have in the last, let me just tell you, in the last 10 years, there are more novels that have been written by black South Africans than in the whole history of South Africa.
Wow.
Of black people in South Africa. Every year there are novels, many novels. I can't keep up anymore.
And what would you say the place of these novels is in let's say the society itself, the culture, the mentality of the people of the day? Where does the art fit in to that, in molding that culture?
Well, no, you see, art is about life. And in a free society, it's not going to be policed or to be channeled or to be shaped into anything by anybody, because you see, artists they want their freedom to create the way they want to create, and therefore you'll find that now, whereas before, you see, all we were writing about was apartheid. Of course, since we get our material from life, and life itself was apartheid. I mean, apartheid touched every aspect of your life as a black person. That is why all the stories we wrote, even if you had to write a love story, it would have to do with apartheid. Why? Because apartheid touched your life. It told you who you could love and who you could not love. You would go to jail for loving the wrong kind of person. There, you see that? So that's why then we focused on that one theme of apartheid. But today, artists write about many different subjects, many different things. There is no single subject you can say that this is what artists must focus on, or this is what culture must be shaped. You know, you don't shape culture. Even bureaucrats who think that they can shape culture and come with policies of shape. No, culture is very it shapes itself. You see, because culture is the way we live and how we live our lives, the decisions that we make for ourselves down there. That's what becomes culture. You see, so that is why then you find a whole variety of creativity throughout, you know, South Africa today in all fields.
So let's get into a little bit about what it is exactly that you're here on our beautiful campus to do today.
Yes.
What exactly brings you to the Central University of Technology as a whole here?
Well, you know, the mistake you guys did was to invite me here. I think it was 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yes, that was a big mistake to invite me here, because I fell in love with the place and with the people.
Okay, yes.
You see?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, and then, but of course, Bloemfontein, being a guy from the Lesotho as well, is more like home also. You know, my kids were even born in this city, you know.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, from the Lesotho, you know, would come to Pilonomi Hospital and so on.
Okay, all right.
So, what I'm saying then is that, having been here then at that time, and I was treated so well and so beautifully, I fell in love with the place. But now you are treating me well again, because you invited me now to give me an honorary Doctor of Technology.
There we go. Yes.
Yes. So that's what I'm here for now, to receive that great award.
That great award.
And I'm highly honored indeed.
Yes. Receiving such a great award and of which you've received many. I'd just like to ask, what do these awards mean to you? When every time you receive an honorary doctorate or you receive a new award, like you've received the Order of Ikamanga as well.
Yeah, I have. I mean, I've received many honorary doctorates from universities here at home, mostly, but in America as well. So some of the Ivy League universities there.
Yes.
But those that matter most for me are those that I get at home.
Yes.
Especially because you are always told that a prophet is not honored in his own home and so on and so forth. It disproves that. It becomes very fulfilling when you find that your own people appreciate you and appreciate your work.
Yes.
It's always been a complaint of artists in South Africa that we are appreciated overseas and so on, but when we come home here, we don't get any recognition, which is true. There are many artists here who are well known abroad, but you never hear of them here. I can give you names of great artists who, when they are coming over there, maybe to America, then people get excited. But here you find that name is not known. So that complaint is quite legitimate. But it has never been the case with me, because I found that I have been greatly honored here at home.
Yes.
You see. And my books are read a lot here at home. They are read abroad as well. I've been translated into 21 languages.
Yes.
You can read them in French, in Dutch, Korean, Catalan, languages I've never even heard of. But at home, that's where they are read even more.
Yeah, and it's also in a lot of your work is in all 11 official languages now.
Yes.
Which is great in terms of accessibility of our people to access your work, especially being from South Africa and being one of our people.
Yes.
At any time, if we read any biography about you or any work on the internet about Zakes Mda, what comes across is the teaching aspect of things.
Is that so?
Yeah, a lot.
Okay.
A lot in our research. It's extensive in terms of the amount of work you've done as a teacher. What is it about teaching that has captivated you and that's held you, and wanting you to continue?
Well, I teach for selfish reasons.
Okay.
Yes, because I'm nourished.
Yes.
By the students. I learn a lot from students. I get a lot of, creative. You see, there's this symbiotic relationship between teacher and student.
Yes.
You see, I teach. Of course, I'm the one who comes with experience and so on. They are the ones who come with a new freshness, new angle at looking at things and so on. You see, and therefore, we are able to meet each other somewhere there, and we both benefit from that interaction.
Live in studio, Zakes Mda, having a very interesting conversation with us. You can be a part of this conversation, 0515073747. When we return, we talk a little bit more.